you go. Are you waiting for permission to lead? Do you see yourself as brilliant, talented, and gifted, yet you keep getting passed over for opportunities for rank advancement and leadership positions? Today's topic is 3 reasons leadership has little to do with rank, title, or position. So welcome to the Influencers Journey Show. My name is Suzan Hart, and my co-host Taria is not here today because she is on vacation. So what's the big question? The big question is, how does the average entrepreneur like us, who started with limited time, zero marketing budget, and little or no online presence, get their authentic message into the marketplace and become a person of influence? Most importantly, what skills must you learn, and who are you required to become to magnetically attract your divine client and build a loyal following? So I am so excited to sit down with you again today and talk about this topic, which is leadership. Now, as I jump in, I want to say that I am so excited, one, to sit down with my beautiful guests, and two, to unpack this conversation. So before I go too far, let me introduce her. And we go back a ways. I think it's been like 10 plus years. But this beautiful woman is the co-founder of Conscious Leads with her beautiful husband. I'm not going to say his name yet. She is an executive coach with many years of experience. She focuses on non-violent leadership. And I know some of you are listening, going, what? Non-violent leadership? So maybe we'll have some time to unpack exactly what this means. And she loves to help people create conscious communication. She's a mother of 2 fabulous and active boys, and she partners and works with her beautiful husband, Trevor. Please help me welcome my friend and partner in crime at times, Dale Allen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a gift to be in this space with you right here, right now, Suzan Hart. Yay.
Oh my gosh, we always have the absolute best conversation. So I'm going to tell everybody listening to hold on to your seat because we can jam. We can just get right into it, go down the rabbit hole, go all sorts of places we didn't expect. But we're going to do our best to stay a little focused on the topic today. So, Dale, I want to just tee up this conversation by going back, and we were having a conversation the other day about my time and your time in network marketing and how it really had us look at leadership and dig into leadership. So one of the things I want to just share with everyone is that, when I got into network marketing, it was almost 18 years ago. And when I jumped in, I was told by my jobs I had been at that I was an awesome leader. I had the ability to build dynamic and productive teams. I could inspire people. And so when I thought of network marketing and they told me I had to build a team, I was like, oh, I got this on lock, Dale. Well, I jumped into network marketing, and a year and a half in, I was struggling. And my goal was to stop working for someone else and make this something I did full time, and nothing seemed to be happening. I think I was making about $1,000 a month at that time, and $1,000 is not going to pay the bills. And so I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then as I began to dig into this thing of called leadership and looking at the key things that made network marketing work, it was one, systems, right? All companies have great systems and of course, great products. But then there was this concept called leadership. Now I thought I understood leadership. This was my epiphany. Are you guys ready for this? Because this is a game changer. Throughout my career in my job, I had been leading teams who were inspired by a paycheck. A paycheck. What that meant that although they may have liked me and although they had followed me, they were inspired and sometimes coerced by the fear of loss of this thing called a paycheck. So they came motivated to get paid, and they did what they were asked. When I got into network marketing, I didn't have a paycheck. I had a big vision. I had a dream. I had an aspiration. And I was telling people, follow me. And while many people said yes, they weren't accustomed to being not rewarded at the end of the week, end of the month without the paycheck. And their motivation dwindled. But the other thing that was really interesting was they wouldn't get out of their comfort zone and step into leadership. Why? Because leadership is a very unique thing. And what I learned was while I had a job, I may have possessed some great leadership skills, but I was truly in management mode. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the distinction between leadership and management. And we're going to unpack some of the things that create this beautiful thing called transformational leadership. So Dale, I remember, what did you take away from our conversation the other day as you reflected back on why you said yes and then why you said I'm out?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I loved when you named that people were used to being rewarded with this paycheck at the end of, the week or 2 weeks that show that this equivalence to I've done this work and here's the reward of it. And when I think of management, it is about how do I bring people to systems, right? So if this is a process, these are the processes that we use for whatever it is. These are hiring processes and practices. These are how we get tasks done. That there seems to be someone who's responsible for making sure that our teams, align with those tasks to get the tasks done. But in network marketing, what I noticed was we were so busy trying to create those same systems and to bring people to systems, and that it wasn't enough. It
No.
wasn't enough, right? And so when I think about our conversation the other day, it was that it didn't even matter sometimes how perfect the systems were, and how much we tried to make them even more easeful. Do you remember, Suzanne?
Oh
We would try
yeah,
to
absolutely.
so we try to make them more easeful. It was always this question of, if the system is there, what would invite you to go pick up the system and use it then? And that's where I think, this whole thing about management is like, oh, the tools, the processes are there. I
Why
mean, you can even Google them, right?
and why aren't people doing them?
Why aren't they doing them? Why aren't they doing them? Yeah,
That's what we're gonna dig into a little bit today.
yeah.
And what I want to really tee it up as you're thinking about this is leaders drive systems. Leaders drive systems in the absence of paychecks. Leaders drive systems, period. And so duplication, autonomy, independence, businesses don't occur without leaders who drive those systems. So it is a type of person, it is a way of thinking, and it is a way of being. And that's what we are going to unpack today. Exciting.
Yes, let's get into the juice.
All right. So as you jump on, what I'm going to ask you to do is get ready to light up the comment section. So put in your thoughts, your comments, your takeaways, ask questions. If we say something that's pretty juicy and you're like, wow, that was so good, let us know. And if you're listening to the replay, absolutely do the same thing. Hashtag replay and light up the comment section. Also, as you jump on, please let us know where you're joining us from, what part of the planet you're on, what brought you out, what you do while you're living, and who do you believe you are called to serve. Let us know these things, and also get to know whoever else is commenting, because this is our opportunity to do some virtual networking and to find out who else is out there listening to the same information. We're also going to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and share the link and say to a friend, oh my gosh, you've got to listen to the Influencer's Journey show. This is about stepping into influence and absolutely becoming a leader that other people desire not to follow, but to lock arms with. So we are going to talk about that. So if you are just joining us, I want to welcome you back to the Influencers Journey Show. My name is Suzanne Hart, and our topic today is 3 reasons leadership has nothing to do with your rank, title, or position. And I am sitting down with none other than leadership coach Dale Allen. You ready, girl?
I'm so ready. I'm so ready, Suzanne.
So we touched on the first thing I want to dive into because I want to put everybody on the same page. And so from your experience, what's the difference between management, leadership, and this thing called transformational leadership?
Oh my goodness. Mhm.
I know I didn't start easy. I just
Oh,
started.
you didn't start easy. Um, Management, leadership, and transformation.
Transformational leadership.
Yeah, okay. Um, I am gonna start maybe in the middle.
Okay.
I think that there's a time that we are all called to stand up and lead, in quotation marks when I say stand up and lead, that life, not just our work life, but our life on the whole, there'll be moments that we're called to stand up and show up for ourselves and show up for others. And what that looks like to me is when life is really challenging and it's I'm in this place where I think that I'm beyond my capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But I dig deep enough, and I turn inside to look at what does my inner wisdom, what does it have to tell me, to
Yeah.
guide me in this moment. That's leadership. Yeah. And what often happens then is that then I'm not alone, right? And that there are other people who are looking or have had the same call or maybe don't know where to turn. And so they might turn to me for that kind of support and that kind of influence and that kind of inspiration. And so that can lead us into this transformational leadership where to me it's about our capacity to transform, to shift the thinking, like at the thinking level, shift the thinking of either a person,
Mm-hmm.
a culture, an organization, a society. But I think it's transformative and it's transformational if it's all in service of us doing good.
I love it. I love it. Such a great place to start. And one of the reasons I ask this question is I think people collapse them, don't you? Like they collapse all these things and they're very distinct. So I want to start by unpacking management for a moment. And as you said at the top of the show, management is all about systems. It's all about processes, but it's all about telling people the outcomes that need to be achieved. And it's almost like checking off. Are we at the outcomes? Are we getting there? Are we doing these things? Let's evaluate the process. Are we going? And so it's a very distinct thing. And what I realized as I started to unpack it is when we manage people, it's very process and it's I call it telling and selling,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's very telling and selling. When you step into leadership, leadership is the act of going first and often being the example and possibly partnership and collaboration. However, for many people, leadership doesn't necessarily co-create other leaders in its own sense. So people who take on leadership, I'm the leader, there's a follower. Transformational leadership, as you said, is this process where we affect growth, we affect change, and we affect transformation. People become better. It's almost like we collectively live in this feedback loop of how do we make our best better. And it's all of us. And I think when you get into transformational leadership, it is about leading leaders and creating leaders so that you're moving together. I remember Jim Coover always said he loved to run with thoroughbreds. And that was always like so powerful for me because he saw himself as a thoroughbred and he loved to run with thoroughbreds. So he was really looking for who had the how that I needed that was a leader in their own right.
Mm. That is so juicy. I think it's interesting if I think about management that I can now get into a leadership by title, right? So I'm now called a director or something like that,
Mm.
right? And if I, this is where I see the distinction, Suzanne, and to all of you who are on the call, right? Just see if you can see yourselves in this, or if you've seen this happen, right? Where you're given a task and you know that you're responsible for your team who are to complete this task by such and such a time. And that you become so busy with and so almost obsessed with, uh, are we getting the task done? Did we meet the milestone? Did we meet the milestone? Right. And so we can be very task driven and really task focused. It's a beautiful thing. That's also what we're hired for, isn't it? But there'll be a time where you might notice that, like, let's say there's a team member is sick, and now we've got 5 instead of 6. And so now we still have to meet those deadlines, those processes within that time, even though we're one person short. And so how do we account for that? The timelines haven't changed. Our condition has changed. We only have 5 people now instead of 6. What would it need? What would we need? What would we need to inject to allow people to, I don't know, want to show up,
Mm-hmm.
to fill that void that one person might have been filling, right? And that's where I think it takes us into leadership. I could do some things. I could say some things. And when I was listening to you, Suzanne, I was thinking I could say the right things. I could say, let's go, let's do teamwork. You're all in. We could have all, these meetings of support. But I think there's a time when we might realize that we don't know how to mobilize people to be inspired themselves. And so when you talked about transformational leadership, I was thinking of like this management, it's me driving task, me driving task, me driving tasks. Then I moved to this leadership component where it's like, okay, I'm still driving tasks, but I'm gonna try to rally the troops, right? I'm gonna really try to rally them. And then this when you talked about transformational leadership, I was just imagining this image of the way that I create inspiration, and where it's almost like people see themselves as their own leaders within, like they see
Mm-hmm.
themselves as a CEO of their role,
Yeah.
and you want to be there. And so what is it like to create and to cultivate an environment like that? And I think those, as I was listening to you, I was thinking of that. If I was thinking of that scale going from management to leadership to transformational leadership, it's that real like capacity to inspire a group of people to lead, right?
Mm-hmm. And the true sense of leadership is to influence, right? Is to influence others. And that's why the show is called The Influencer's Journey. It is the journey to becoming someone of influence. And I love what you said when you talk about, when someone gets advanced in a agency, it's all often they get a title. You are the executive, you're the director, you're the, I like to say, the grand poobah. You get a title and you
Yeah.
get a job description and you get a position. And in most cases, in your mind, that position gives you the right. I want real people who want to really follow me, the right to lead others. But do you actually have the right to lead others? You actually have the right to manage them, ensure they get the task done. And for me, that's often the distinction. I have the positional power, which I like to say the positional force, to get you to do the thing. If I remove title and position, can I get you to do the thing? And that's what you're talking about. If I remove your title, position, job description, am I still able to get you to do the thing? And that's where influence lives, and that's where leadership lives. And so that's what we're talking about, because I remember when I came into network marketing, I was like zero rank nobody. And the question was, can I influence you to do the thing as the new person on the block who only
Mm.
has an idea, a vision, influence? And so when I think of transformational leadership, and tell me if this resonates with you, I think of being the example. I think of going first. I think of being a light, a source of inspiration where people look and they say, I don't know where she's going, but whatever she's up to, I'm up to it too. And I cast a vision that has people go, ooh, well, I'm on board for that. And I want to be in the flow with her. I want to be like who she's being. I want to be in that. I want to bring my skills, talents, and treasures to that because it excites me. And now I've inspired and influenced. And so for me, that's what transformation is about. It's about having people decide, choose in about being more, becoming more, doing more, having more. And now we're in this stage of everybody's transforming.
Everybody's transforming. Isn't that generous? What a generous gift, hey, to offer.
It's for me, it's not only generous, it's empowering. Like,
Totally.
what does it, I mean, who wouldn't want to be surrounded by other people who have a desire to be more, to grow more, to push the envelope, to expand who they know themselves to be, to dig in and go beyond their comfort zone? Who would not want to be part of that?
Mm, totally, totally, totally.
And so I think as what leadership requires is I must be that example.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So I wanna unpack my second thought for you. And this is something I say all the time. And I want to hear how it lands for you and what it makes you think of. So for me, I believe that the first person I lead is myself. I actually believe that the only person I lead is myself.
I've got this like beautiful, warm feeling here because I'm so in alignment. I have a dear, dear, dear friend, Suzanne, who said this to me, and her ears will be burning, and her heart should feel this. She said this to me some time ago, and I'm going to gift it to you. She said, "Leadership is a decision."
Hmm. Who said that?
Her name is Suzanne Hart. Do you know how often I share that? And I'm getting teary when I say that because it resonates with me so much. It's why I was sharing that, there's going to be times when we are called to lead in
Hmm.
our lives. Like life situations going to change. There's going to be a death, there's going to be a birth, whether it's birthing a new business idea or moving to a new country or birthing a child, or the death of a family member or the death of a relationship or the death of a business venture. We're always in that exchange, right? Of something
Hmm.
being birthed and something dying. And it always calls us to lead in that moment. And so when I hear you say that, it reminds me of when you shared with me many years ago that leadership is a decision. And what
Hmm.
I love about that memory, like how I remember, like I put things back together, is every time I share that with myself and I digest that and I get the nutrients from it, Suzanne Hurt, thank you. I always think about what that means
Hmm.
for me being leading myself,
Yeah.
and the gifts of being able to do that, the connections, the understanding of what it means to lead and what it means to be human and what it means to care for and to guide and to invite other people and inspire other people and to influence other people. I cannot know that if I've not practiced on myself. But
It's so
yeah,
right. So
yeah,
right.
I cannot know it. But what I get concerned about, and which is why I love that this was the topic that we're talking about, is if I am not careful, if I'm not in a continuous practice of self-awareness, I can be, I don't know, I guess appointed or win a management position and not be careful and hold really great integrity to what it means to now lead people when I'm in a management position. And that often scares me actually when
And,
I
and
see that.
And you know what's really the reason I actually started breaking it down and I said leadership is a decision. The one thing it kept reminding me is I'm the only one that can make that decision for me. Right.
Right?
So the first thing I must decide is I choose leadership for self and I choose where I stand and it's in the absence of title position. It is who I choose to be in the moment. and in every moment of all circumstances. The gift in that is when challenge comes, I know I am the lead in this space called challenge.
Can you rewind that again, please? Can you say that again?
When
Because that is something, right? And I just
challenge
want,
comes,
yes,
I know
everyone
that.
who's listening. Yes, sorry. I just want to, just before you say it again, I just want everyone who's listening, I really want you to digest what Suzan is about to say and think about what this is inspiring in you. Suzan, please.
And so when challenge comes and when I feel pushed, when I feel stretched, is to remember that I am the lead in the face of challenge. So I decide to step into leadership. The other distinction, Dale, and the reason I say to myself all the time is the only person I lead is myself, is because it takes me out of force. It takes me out of positional coercion. It takes me out of using title, position, all the things that we use to make people do things. And I remind myself that, Suzan, the only person you can control is you. So when I have mastery over myself and I exercise this beautiful level of self-mastery, I become the light that has people go, "Ooh, I'm going with you." And so for me, it has always been about who am I required to be and how am I required to show up to be a source of inspiration as I lead self, the only person I can lead, so I can create a sense of inspiration and influence where people go, "Ooh," and it's like the magnet, right? It's like,
Yes,
I want to
yes.
be part of this vision, this thing, this challenge, this opportunity. But I first must sit in the lead of self.
Mm. Sit in the lead of self. Isn't that just so beautiful?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but what it did for me, because everybody knows Suzanne's a recovering perfectionist and control freak, and I was tired. And I remember when you came to my house and you were done. And part of where I think this conversation kind of came into being was the work of attempting to control circumstances and people and these things. And when we surrender it, the freedom that it provides, and we get to focus on where we have impact is on self. We get to focus on inward, as you said at the top of the call, so that our light can shine outward and we can touch and inspire and move people.
Mm, totally. And you know what's beautiful about that, Suzanne, is I don't have to memorize anything
Mm-hmm.
to lead myself, right? Like I don't have to do that. I don't have to there's nothing more that I need to be except to turn it inward and to check in with who I am. And so when you were talking about um not using force, that's what nonviolent leadership is about,
Yeah.
right? Is that can we and we can, but it's for us to ask ourselves that question, could I invite people to to accomplish this milestone without using force?
Mm-hmm.
And leadership requires that, right? That is the responsibility of leadership in those moments, right? Is that we don't hurt people, we don't harm them by using
Mm-hmm.
force.
And I think what it creates is a space where it's relational, right? It's relational. So I am required to get to know you as a independent other and really tap into how are you inspired? What are your giftings? Where does your brilliance lie? And how can we co-create and collaborate? And I remember that one of the things I used to do when I first started into management was that when I got somewhere, I would observe for months. And people would always say, "So she's not going to give direction and orders." and and I would go and do all the tasks of everybody that that I was supervising, if you will, managing. And I'd go work with this person and I'd ask questions and show me how to do this and show me how to do that. And I'd work with this person and show me how to do this and show me how to do that. And I'd be asking questions. And I would probably do that for my first 3 months while I was there. And what people didn't actually know, I was doing two things. I was building relationship. I was finding out what were the strengths of this person. Where did they believe that they were challenged and the organization was challenged? And I was doing a very important thing. I was earning the right to lead them, right? And I figured the only way I could actually step into leadership as I come into an organization was to allow them to get to know me, but also to partner in all these spaces so that they could see me in action and they could build rapport and they could build trust and they could build all these things. And I remember in one place I was working in the kitchen and they were like, "You're going to clean the drawers?" And I said, "Well, do you clean the drawers?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "So I'll clean the drawers." All right. I got in and did. What else do you need me to do? What do you need? What do you think's broken here? And I got all this stuff. Now, this was a beautiful thing. When I finally pulled it all together, I could say, I learned from this person that this is what's happening. I learned from that person that this is all happening. And I learned from this person that this is happening. And I learned that this is such and such a strength. So she's going to be our go-to. I just put her in the lead. And I learned that this is such and such strength. So she's going to be our go-to. And as much as I could take myself out of the space and make it a team effort, they gave me the right and the opportunity to step into leadership, but co-lead. And so when we talk about force is when you don't take the time. And because you don't take the time, you're in the coerce, you're in the, I got to get it done. You need to do it. I don't want to hear from you, all those things versus a relational situation. And I love, when you talk about, conscious communication, that's really what we're in right,
Totally,
right?
totally, totally. Yeah. Suzanne, I was really struck by this. I just want to rewind. I'm just going to re-download it. When you were talking about time and in a way of working and a way of living, in particular in North America, but I would say it's like also, we're both from the Caribbean and we see it there too.
Mm-hmm.
Where if we go back to what you're saying about the reward system, we're rewarded in our society by how much we produce. It doesn't matter what we do. Even entrepreneurs, it's the same, right? And so this time can seem like a luxury to do those things that you just spoke of, to go and do those jobs, to see what it felt like and to understand what is needed, what else I could offer, what else the space needs to be able to be successful and to be part of the whole, right? Um, People can see that as a luxury,
Mm-hmm.
and it's where management, the idea, if I'm not clear of the distinction between management and transformational leadership, then I can really get into the managing.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes more of
The
like,
pushing
yeah,
of
yes,
the timeline, right?
yes, exactly, exactly. So I was just really struck by that in a society that we're really rewarded for our management. You got the task, you got them to get the task done. Check, good. That just like when we were talking about network marketing, it's that reminder that because that system is so strong, then transformational leadership really does become a decision, because it is, time is part of that. It is needed. It is a necessity. It
Absolutely.
is a choice. It's a decision to take the time, to create the time, to have those conversations, to observe like that.
I think when we're talking about transformational leaderships, we're talking about, but also visionary leaders,
Oh yes,
right?
yeah.
And the piece with that is oftentimes it's the understanding that we must slow down to speed up. And so I know for myself that if I slow down and I lay my leadership foundation by doing the pieces, there's a tipping point where people are in leadership, and I go further and faster, and often without me, because I get to become the conductor of leaders. And so yes, it is slow to begin. However, it is fast once it's ignited. And I think what we're talking about is that transformational leadership is growth oriented leadership. It is expansion leadership. It is building people leadership. And yes, that takes time. But think about the leverage you then have when you're not the only one driving the bus, that everybody's driving their piece of the process. How much faster you go, how much quicker you go, how much more you can expand. And I think I think one of the things about North America is that we are very, I got to get to this, and I got to get to this, and I got to get to this. And then we look at places where they look at the vision for the next 3 to 4 years, and they say, okay, so in 3 to 4 years, we need to be here. Keeping that in mind, what's the foundation? What's the process that we need to go through? And almost every leadership book I've read, they talk about the need to slow down to do those pieces.
Yeah, yeah. And for some, we're so deep in the fast, the rapid life, the urgency model of life, and that's urgency is like the currency, that it's not sexy enough to slow down. And so
No.
that's why I love that we're talking about this, because I know you and I do this work in the same way, that people start to value the slow and they want it, but that pull and the sexiness of I got it done, I got it done, I got it done, I got it done. That pull is strong.
And I think the other thing that you want to look at is sustainability,
This
right?
is it.
So I know that getting part of this model was also developed because after I've burnt out a few times, I realize that the level to which I desire to produce can't occur at the rate people think it can.
Right.
And so if I want to produce at that level, it cannot be just me. I need to be able to really pull into place other people with different talents and treasures, different giftings, and create the space where they lead in those giftings. And that process can only happen through communication. It can only happen through clarity. It can only happen through vision casting. It can only happen through conversations. It can only happen through space to grow, space to get to know each other, relationships, all these things. And then you see momentum as you have these other people driving.
Totally, totally, totally. Suzanne, I have this thought anyway that I've been saying, where I was saying that none of us were hired to keep things the same. So, and I think of my role as a parent, I wasn't hired to keep my infant an infant. I was hired, in quotation marks, to help them grow, to help them change. Okay. And it's the same with it in my job, right? If
Mhm.
I, as an employee, I wasn't hired to keep things the same. I was hired to help the organization go from where it is to where it could be in the next month, year, and so on.
Yeah.
And if I'm in a leadership position, it's the same. That is why we're here, right? I wasn't hired for myself as the CEO of Self, who leads Self, as you offered, Suzanne, to keep myself the same. It's
Mhm.
actually to help me grow, right? That's is my role, is to help myself grow through this thing called life. And so I think that there's something to not seeing time as just this luxury, like, it's something you can do if you've got enough time. It's that idea, that choice to stand up and lead, that choice to play in the space of transformational leadership, to want to invite people to notice that they're here to grow, and to be one who cultivates the environment that can happen. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest gifts we can give to ourselves and humanity.
You know, what you brought to mind for me was the you know, coming from a family counseling background and really saying to parents, our jobs, our responsibility is not to control our kids, our children, but to teach them self-control. And there's a
Mhm.
subtle distinction between the two. And I say to control your children is easy in the short term, but crazy making because they'll rebel in the long run. Teaching them self-control takes more time in the short term, but it frees you up in the long run. And we're doing the same sort of thing. And so part of when I sit in this leadership role, a parent is a leader. And what we want for our children is freedom. What most people desire in life is freedom. The freedom to do and be who they desire to be. And freedom has some different areas. So we want time freedom. We want money freedom. And we want creative freedom. We want purpose freedom. And so there's all these areas that we want freedom. Well, this thing called freedom only occurs through the ability to have a space to grow, transform, and become more. Because freedom is only, as I've learned, created through leverage. Leverage is a leadership process. I can't leverage on my own. I might be able to leverage a system, but who's driving the system? I can't leverage without a team. And so, what we're really, if we really put it in the context that you're talking about, leadership is our ability to leverage each other in the most beautiful way so that each of us can experience this thing called freedom. Freedom in time, freedom in money, right? Freedom in purpose, freedom in creation, because
Freedom in our relationships,
in our
right?
relationships,
Sense of being
absolutely.
free when we're together, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so, how do we create the environment to make that happen? It's not a management environment, it's not a hierarchical environment. It is an equity environment where I see your brilliance, you see my brilliance, I see your difference, you see my difference, I see your uniqueness, you see my uniqueness. And we say about that is, wow, look at what we have. And what do we create with all this gifting?
That's right. What do we create with all these gifts? Right?
Mhm.
Can you imagine being like it's your birthday and you're being given all these gifts and you decide to only open some of them and but all of them are gifts that are supportive of your own growth and you're like, I'll just open these ones. I mean, to me, when we're coming together and we bring our gifts together, it's like let's open these gifts together and see like what can we create together? What do by bringing these gifts together, what do we have now?
Mhm.
Right? What
Yeah.
would that look like? Like you open your gifts, I'll open mine. We bring them together, and what does that ignite? What does that inspire? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's like Christmas, like big,
Yes.
big.
It's yes, 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 yes. Why would you not unpack some of those? Why would you not open them? Why would you not use them? Why would you
Yeah.
not share them? Right?
So,
Yeah.
so what do you think is the mindset of a person who takes on transformational leadership?
I a growth mindset.
Absolutely.
So this capacity, it's like challenging our nevers. You know, I could never do this, could never be this. Challenging our shoulds. You know, one who does that, that's what I think of like a growth mindset. I think compassion, a
hmm
mindset that is steeped in compassion, you know, that always uses that as a check-in, right? To say, you know, am I of service of myself and to others, right? So there's that connection there. I think that there's a mindset that looks at not just me, but how I am in relation to others. So a relational mindset.
Yeah.
Right? That's so huge.
It is, as I go down the rabbit hole of mindset, and that everybody knows that that's kind of where I live. And mindset is based on the premise that we are here for more. And I just love it. Like, how cool
Mhm.
is that?
Mhm.
Right? And we are here for more. We are here to become more. We are here to be more. We are here to have more. And I always, whenever I talk to someone, I say, imagine a tree that says to the world, I'm going to retire. And right?
I'm
And
done. I'm out. I'm out.
I'm out. I've grown long enough. And we all know, oh, if a tree retires, it's going to die. Right? If you put that in the concept of an organization, when you stand in a place too long and more doesn't happen, we've seen it. Death happens. And so imagine we're here for more. And I remind myself, if I'm not here for more, I'm depressed. I'm
Mm.
shrinking. I'm dying. So we are here for more. And so an organization that, or the mindset of someone who is in this transformational leadership, as you said, is a growth mindset. It's a more mindset. I think the other thing that I'll take from mindset is the law of vibration, which is the law of energy, right? And so it is understanding the state and the environment we create energetically. And there's a big difference in the energy of a collaborative relation, collaborative environment versus one of a managed environment, versus one of a hierarchical environment, versus one of a environment where, as you said, time, and we're just pushing processes and leaving wounded behind, right? So there's this whole energy. And then the other one I'll throw in, and from mindset, is the whole concept of cause and effect. And I think it's always remembering that we are cause. We are at cause. And for every cause, there's an effect. And that is so huge for me, because it's like, who am I being in relation to this person? Who am I being in the relation to this moment? Who am I being in the relation to this thing that's in front of me, this challenge that we have? Who am I being? And how am I at cause for a greater good, and moving things in the direction we want it to, and how we want to experience it,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a really interesting mindset, because I think the mindset of someone who takes on leadership is a mindset of personal responsibility, personal accountability. And those are words that in a lot of places are taboo, right? We work in CYA places, cover your what,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Totally. Totally.
And,
Totally.
and so how do you cultivate those environments is really the big question.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so beautiful that we do that work, because that is the question, right? It is the question. Like, how do you operationalize the stuff that we're talking about? And that's what we do, right? Because it's
Mhm.
one to consume, the books and all that stuff. And then it's like, but how does that translate into real life, right? And that's what's so, so critical. And I know that you do that so beautifully, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do. You really do. It's Suzanne, I wanted to ask you something in
I knew.
part.
Oh, she always turns the tables on me. So just for everyone that's listening, this
Right.
this is a norm. We banter, and she's like, "Phew, okay,
Yes.
go ahead."
Because I just more the contemplation, right? Is yeah, it is that. It's that we can have the desire, to lead nonviolently, like to lead without force. But we can be in that the push and pull, there's always that push and pull of getting the task done and being rewarded for that. That is my paycheck. That is how I get paid. And I want to inspire and lead with compassion and have the mindset that actually does inspire. What maybe I was just wondering if we could just explore together just some ways that we can invite people to think of how that might translate. Like, how do you navigate that push and pull? And I just wanted, because you and
Uh,
I were talking about that the other day, and I just
I
thought
I
if
love
we
it.
were to bring that here, I think it would be a gift.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
and I was training in Omaha about 2 weeks ago now. And in my workshop, I had the inspiration to just throw away the PowerPoint and the notes and just generate. And I was generating from some of the comments and things I heard in the larger room. And so one of the things I asked people was I asked them, what does leadership mean to them? And I got all the answers, to guide people, to manage people, to go first, and all these things. And one of the things I said to them, and I'm going to unpack two words that we unpacked in the room, so it lands for everybody. I said, if you can't have a picture of the language you're using operationally and behaviorally, you don't actually know what to do with it. And the room went, oh. And I said, so for me, when I think of leadership, it is the act of going first. It is to be the example. It is to be a source of inspiration. It is to create influence. It is to know that the only person I ever lead is myself. And I said, so when I step into leadership, I'm always checking against these things. And so I asked them, now that I've given you a working behavioral definition, are you clear on who you are required to be? And the whole room went, wow, that's different. And so one of the things I want to really put in the space for everyone is we create through language. But language it's not, as you're saying, it's not the book we're reading or the dictionary we just studied, but it's the, how do I take the thought and what I'm saying and translate it into behavior that gives my language life and is congruent. And so that for me is always where I start. What does this mean in my beingness? The other one word we unpacked was power. And I asked them, what is power? And that we differentiate between force and power. And I said, so position is really your opportunity to force and coerce someone to do something, if that's where you lead from. Position, title, job description, all these things. You're in total, I can make you do this because I can make you do this as well. I said, power, however, only comes from within. That's why we empower ourselves and we empower our people. And so then I said, so who are you being? How are you leading? And the room went, whoa. Because when we have clarity of language and clarity of distinction, then then it lands different in our beingness. So what I would say to people is how do you operationalize these words that you're using? And are you showing up the way you would like to, or are you showing up in a way that's received well from people? Because we know when we're not received well, but we think, well, that is leadership. No. And so it's challenging the reception of our being and saying, how productive is this? Because I really don't like pushback. And when I get pushback, I'm like, okay, I got to create something different. I got to create something else because I need to be a source of inspiration. And I'm not going to force people to do it. And so how do I reduce the pushback? By how I verbalize and be the behavior. So that would be what I would kind of put in the space in terms of, giving people some information, some thinking in terms of what language are you using, and do you truly understand the words that you're using? I'll say this. One of my first supervisors, lovely woman, Joy LaPache. I always hats off to Miss Joy. I remember she said to me, Suzanne, if you don't understand the dynamics of power, you will abuse it. I was like, what? What? And
That is big.
it's big, huge. And the thought of me abusing my power was so confronting for me. And it opened up such a beautiful dialogue that forever changed me. Ever changed me. Because I was in a position where legally I had power. I had the ability to force someone to do something. Let's just be real. I had the ability to force someone to do this. I have a court order. And she said, so her point was you can beat people over the head with this court order, or you can lead a process where they collaborate and come to a agreement that feels good for them.
That just feels so different when you said that. Hey, can you all feel that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you all feel those words? That just the difference, right? Just there's a total difference in that beat people over the head. Because that is what it feels like for folks. And we know that that's what our clients tell us, don't they? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that they're being heard. But this idea of cultivating a process that invites people to collaborate. I
Mm-hmm.
just felt my whole, and I can just see it. Some of the folks down
Yeah.
here, right? See the shoulders drop. You see that, Suzanne?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're thinking, oh, that's what I want to be a part of. Now, what it requires, Dale, is I'm going to check my ego at the door, right? That's a growth oriented sort of thing,
Got it.
right? I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable and meet my clients in the place of vulnerability because I'm going to check my ego at the door. And so when she talked about if you don't understand the dynamics of power, you are going to abuse it. It was real.
Oh, that's good. That is so juicy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
She was
yeah,
a gift. She was a gift.
yeah. That's
She was a
huge.
gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's huge. That is huge. Can I offer one more thing that you inspired? Okay. Because you have to stop inspiring me, Suzanne. One more thing, can I? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Okay.
I'm receiving.
Okay, super. So when you were sharing earlier about management, a question that I'll often ask my clients is, so management is so much about the doing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm stepping into leadership, I ask myself, how am I being whilst I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I being whilst I'm doing? Yeah. And when you were sharing today, that kept coming for me as like that is just such a gift. And it's something that usually when I ask people to do, just a tangible thing is when you write your task list, your to-do list, write your to-be list right beside it. So
Mm-hmm.
when I do this task, who do I need to be? And how will I be whilst I'm doing it? And it just moves us into that transformational space, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll add to that because what came to mind for me as you said it is I created the distinction between a goal and success. A goal is a thing we achieve. Success is the experience we have. And you can, I have done some really challenging, stretching things and walked away saying, never doing that with them people ever again. And I've done harder things and walked out lit up like a Christmas tree, feeling 10 feet tall and bulletproof and expanded and full of just, I am so excited about who I'm being right now.
Yes.
And which experience do you want? And I think it's who am I going to be? And what does success look and feel like? Oh, I think we just coined another call.
Yes. 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 Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So I know we're close to the top of the hour and we could go on forever. Um, if I were to ask you your top three leadership lessons that you have learned on your beautiful journey, and what would they be? And as I say that, I want to really highlight your energetics, your energy. And for the time I have met you, the words that come to mind is you have this sweet, gentle energy while being this totally powerful woman. And so I'm asking from that place, what has been the lessons that have allowed you to lead from this I call it peace and power place, right? There's peace and there's power. And you bring people into that energy. What was the learnings and the giftings that had that happen?
It's amazing. One is I didn't know this term until I knew this term, but is honoring and noticing and writing down my blessings. So
Mm,
that whole, blessing and lessons. And because of the duality of that, that
mm,
sometimes the lessons are tough, but there's still a blessing in it. That's been very huge for me.
mhm,
Yeah. Um, when I stopped learning about leadership, Suzanne, like learning about it and was being it. So it made a huge difference. I've been a coach for just over 20 years. And at the time I didn't have employees. And so I was sharing teachings that I could share because of my previous experiences. But I really made a decision to actually be the teachings, right?
mhm.
So and so that meant that I wasn't just going to share them, that I was going to consume them. I was going to digest them. I was going to metabolize them and get the nutrients from them so that I was living them as well.
Love it.
And another thing, there are many, but another thing that's coming to me is letting go of knowing it all. Okay. And yeah, it's a generative and a generous practice to let go of knowing it all. And it's invited me into this place of curiosity and questioning. And then I do need to share a fourth, which is the bonus one, but it is the overarching for all of them. It's when I started to really study about and be about what does it mean to lead nonviolently? Like, what does it mean to think without trying, in a way that doesn't create harm to myself, to others, or to nature? Like, it has to be a part of that as well. Um, to speak in from that place, to solve my challenges from that place, to look at people in from that place, so that I could be with the ups and downs of life. Like, that is what it means to be alive. It's not always up. It's not always up. And so when that became, which happened about 16 years ago now, where it's like I can do leadership, but what does it mean to do leadership nonviolently? I could do this life, but what does it mean to have the lens of nonviolence? I could do diversity, equity, and inclusion at work, but what does it mean to do this through the lens of nonviolence and the operational practices that is? So those are those are the ones for me. There are so many, but those are the ones I'll offer. Yeah.
Those are gems. Those are gems. Thank you so
Oh,
much for those gems. And just thank you for who you're being and becoming. And I think as I listen to you and as I've known you, I think one of the things where we kind of intersect, if you will, is this whole belief that leadership is a process. It is a becoming. It is an evolution. It is a continuous learning. And so you and I never arrive. And what a beautiful gift that is. What a beautiful place to live. And so every time we jump on a call, we jump on to chat, it's like fireworks because it's like, what are you up to? Oh, and ooh, and ooh, and ooh. And it is, and then get to revel in who my friend is becoming and being, and it feeds me. And I think that's what we're talking about. The first person I lead is myself. The first person I inspire is myself. So when people encounter me, it is juicy. And so when I encounter you, it's always like,
yes, yes.
and because there's always something to be curious about because I got to catch up. Where you been and what you been up to and what have you who have you become while I was absent?
Yes,
That's
yes.
the beauty.
Oh, oh, that gives me truth bumps. Who have you become whilst I was absent? Oh, that's so beautiful. I Suzanne doesn't know I'm going to do this, everyone, like she didn't know the last time. Um, Suzanne, you one of the other gifts that you gave me, sister, is when we were in doing our work, our leadership work with in the network marketing sphere at the time, and I was sharing with you, people would keep asking me whether it was about growing their business or about their health. They would ask that question that came up all the time, which was, how long do I have to do this? And in essence, we could put, SHIT, right? How long do I have to do this for, and the words that you said were this, and I always remember it, and I quote you all the time. So thank you. Is do it long enough until you notice a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of the things, the gems that you have shared and that you are offering, the way that we look at leadership and knowing that we are always having an impact, hence why this is the influencers for influencers, right? We know we're always having an impact. And so this opportunity to look at our mindset is that reminder. And it's just a gift. I'm just receiving this. I'm just sharing it back with you because I'm grateful to you for this. Hey, is that when we start to ask ourselves, because in a world that's all about management and pushing processes and not having enough time, we can question whether it's worth it to operate it in a transformational leadership way. But the offer that I will gift back to all of you here, because it was given to me from Suzan. And Suzan, you have had huge influence on my life. Thank you, sis. Is this reminder that when you take the gems from today that you're sharing, Suzan, that we've co-created as well, is to be with them, to implement them long enough until you notice a difference. Okay?
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Like there are so many Suzanisms that I have that I bring you with me all the time.
Thank you so much. And I love sitting down with you. And I think I say this all the time. We generate beautifully because it's just this authentic, truth-filled conversation. And I think that one of the true signs of a leader is their willingness to be vulnerable, their willingness to peel back the onion and allow people to see who I be and who I'm not. And you are just such a gem in that way, who I be, who I'm not, who I'm becoming. And so I thank you for just being willing to expand, grow, fall down, get back up, get messy, stand up, brush yourself off, and say, yeah, I'm moving to this unique, beautiful space. So for those of you who have joined us today, I have been sitting down with leadership coach, the beautiful Dale Allen. She will definitely be back because I got a list of conversations that me and this beautiful sister will be having throughout 2023 and probably beyond. So I'm going to leave everyone with the quote of the day. And I thought, as we talked about leadership and we talked about the first person and the only person I lead is myself, it had to come from none other than Mr. Robin Sharma. And he said, to be a great leader, first become a great person. So simple, so powerful. And I think it sums up, the message that Dale's leaving us with. And I love the term nonviolent leadership. I really want everyone to noodle on that. I love the term conscious communication. So sit with that, please. And until we meet again, please know you're brilliant. Please know you're oh so very special. And we do this work because the world is waiting. The world is waiting for your unique gifts. So blessings. If you love the conversation, please like and share the page. Again, thank you so much, Ms. Dale Allen. And thank each and every one of you for joining us. We will be back here next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.